Hey, Hogan, good to see you. I am coming to you from a different location. I'm at my in-laws' house at the Jersey Shore. It is a lovely day as we tape this. The weather is here. Wish y'all were too.
Well, you went for the kitchen too. You just blurted it out.
I blurted it out because it's not my kitchen.
It's safe.
Yeah.
Right.
It is safe. I saw a clip of you on TV yesterday on News Nation or something. Yeah. Maybe it was Newsmax. And I thought to myself, I recognize that stove.
You saw the stove before me?
Yeah, I've never actually seen. I've never been invited to your place, but I've never. So I've never seen.
I don't care for you that much.
I mean, I hear you. I get that a lot.
I was on a show the other day, and they said, Hogan, if you can't take the heat, what do you do? And I looked, and I was like, get out of the kitchen. That's why I stay right here because
I'm staying here, buddy.
That's how I can take the heat.
That's good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to try to deliver some heat because that's what we attempt to do here. Because this is the Line Drive Podcast. All right, so we absolutely have a presidential race going on right now. This is a new and invigorated Democratic Party and a new and invigorated national news media who they have finally found their candidate, and the media got its mojo back. They didn't know really what they were doing there for a little while. They had kind of lost their footing when Joe Biden wasn't doing so well. But, man, now they've all got it back. And, boy, oh, boy, the coordination and the symbiotic nature of the media and Kamala Harris is really something to see. Have you ever seen – I know the media loved Obama, and they still to this day gush about Obama. They just love the man. And they loved and catered to and certainly protected Joe Biden for the longest time until they suddenly didn't. But just the absolute geyser of ecstasy and jubilation from the media, just writing words of awe and wonder about the majesty that is Kamala Harris. I mean, it wasn't long ago that these people didn't have anything to do with her, and they were in love with Joe Biden. Now they are absolutely in love with Kamala Harris, and they don't care who knows. In fact, they want to tell everybody. What's your reaction to all this?
It's so much, so fast. I think we talked about before, if you underestimate the media's power, just be clear, in 3 weeks, they got a sitting president who'd been in office, elected in some form or fashion for half of a century.
Right, 126 years.
He's not going to be president anymore, okay? They clearly have a lot of power. But that same media that told us the Russia investigation, Russia collusion was real, that the Hunter Biden laptop and the Ashley Biden diary were fake, the same media that told us behind the scenes Joe Biden is so physically fit he's doing triathlons, is the same media that said Kamala Harris really wasn't that great. And now the same media is trying to tell us she's the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. And you hit on something, this turn on a dime thing. It's so many things. Kamala Harris, and we'll get to her change in positions later. Oh, yeah. But she is for defunding the police. She is for getting rid of private health care. She is for an open border. She is for using your tax dollars to pay for people in prison to cut off their body parts to pretend to be another gender. She is for
and she wants them to be able to vote from prison while they're doing that.
Yeah, of course. She's more radical than Joe Biden and less likable than Joe Biden. All of these things. She was that in June. In fact, she held all of those positions until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, now some of them until yesterday.
She didn't hold any of these positions that she's leaking out all these things as you'll get to through staffers. All these things now, she says she's changed all these positions. If she really has changed these positions on, getting rid of cars, getting rid of internal combustion engines, if she really changed all those positions, wouldn't the media be angry and be like, hold on, no. The climate is going to die in a week if you don't cut carbon emissions. The world's going to change if you don't allow people to cut off their breasts or their penises. Like, they should be angry at her for trying to change her positions. But then it kind of dawned on me, and we talked about this yesterday on the phone. On a debate stage, she called Joe Biden a segregationist and a sex criminal.
Yep. This
is after she asked Joe Biden to come do campaign events for her in San Francisco and also California, like she's running for Senate. And after she had worked so closely and tirelessly with Joe's son, Beau, who died of brain cancer. She still had the unmitigated gall and audacity to be that brazenly political, to go on a stage and say, this man who I asked to come help me for Senate, who I asked to come help me in San Francisco, whose son, who died of all these bad cancer that I worked with, he's a segregationist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she either went to work with a racist or she made it all up for politics and she lied.
Yeah. Either way, she was
bad, but she's a total liar.
She's completely rudderless. She has no core ideology. She's, you know what? In many ways, she's very much like Joe Biden, who throughout the course of his 52 years or whatever in the U.S. Senate before he became vice president and then president, never had these positions that he then enforced when he was, and all this. But this is kind of the reverse. It's the reverse of Biden, what Harris is doing. Biden became a leftist by necessity because he needed to win the nomination, and then that's how he governed as president, because he was under the control of the radical left. Harris is a member of the radical left and is trying to conceal it. So it's in reverse, because now she's in election mode. Biden did all that stuff because he still had sort of the veneer of being a moderate to
old Uncle Joe, yeah.
Uncle Joe and all that stuff.
Moderate, yeah.
He could stake out turf on the left in position-wise and still have sort of the facade that he wasn't really a leftist. Harris is a committed leftist who now is pretending that she's not. So it's kind of the same, but it's different. And we might as well go get to it right now since we're on that topic. But you just ran through all the different subjects on which she has reversed. Let's see, I'm going to go through this one tweet that lists some of them. Did you say banning fracking?
I didn't, but that's a good one.
She previously had said expressly multiple times, 100%, I want to ban fracking. We got to ban fracking. She was unequivocal and she was clear. There was no, reading between the lines on that one. She said she was going to do it. Now, guess what? No, not going to ban fracking. Not going to ban fracking. That's what she says. Mandatory government buybacks of assault weapons and firearms. Said she's going to have. That's basically government seizing.
It's seizing your guns. Yes.
Yeah. Now she says, no. So all these different things, including the one, banning private health insurance. If you get your health insurance from your employer, gone. No more. Everyone is going to have government managed health insurance. Sure. Everybody.
And we all know how good the government is at managing things. Sure.
Oh gosh, they're always so awesome. There's not everybody is terrible at their jobs. There are some government agencies that do their jobs flawlessly, like the Secret Service, for example. Decriminalizing border crossing. She wants to do that. You talked about open border. She obviously bailed out the rioters, defunding the police, a whole bit, all of it. And here's the key. I don't detect that any member of the press corps has even issued a peep of protest about this. But the way that she is actually pulling off these reversals of all of these long held positions is by campaign staff members telling reporters that she's doing this on background, which, for people who don't work in this industry, on background means that, you can use the information and potentially you can even quote someone, but you can't identify them. It is not on the record. It is kind of told to someone with the identity of the source concealed. And the reporters are going with this. And in fact, they're thrilled about it. If you see all the tweets, they all tweet about it by saying, "Scoop, Harris says that she no longer supports banning fracking," or something like that, or Harris campaign. And when something is so monumental as this, especially a series of them,
100,000 jobs in Pennsylvania.
Oh, just in Pennsylvania, 100,000 jobs just in Pennsylvania. They're dribbling out these little scoops of her reversing her positions to different reporters at different publications in different places around the country and national publications. And they're just all over the place. And the reporters are happy to get them. But that's not the way this ought to be done. If a candidate is going to be just completely jettisoning all of these long-held views, the voters are owed an explanation about why that is from the candidate herself. And I would suggest that the candidate herself ought to submit herself to questions from journalists every once in a while. She has now been the presumed nominee of the Democratic Party for nearly 2 weeks, and she has yet to sit for an interview or have a press conference or do anything that a normal, she's doing the old Joe Biden playbook, but she doesn't have the excuse of cognitive decline.
Basement. Yeah, exactly. She just has the excuse of cognitively have never been there. But still, somewhere you just went with, I got to take a little issue with
what
we think in terms of voters deserve this because we like our politicians to be held accountable to voters, right?
Right. Correct.
Democrats don't think that way. They don't care what a voter thinks. I mean, they literally have been for the last 3 years saying, you think you're paying more for gas and groceries? No. It's actually good. You think the border's open because people are coming into your communities, killing and raping your citizens? No. You don't understand. It's closed. It's so offensive for them to try and tell voters what they aren't feeling isn't real. But in that same vein, they don't give a crap what a voter thinks. Otherwise, they would have opened the primary. Now, I don't like complaining about this because it's gone, but I just want to make the point that they don't care if voters have a say. They don't think voters deserve anything but whatever they feed them. Because if they did, they would not have said, all right, here's what we're going to do. Biden's out, Kamala's in. She has no votes. No one voted for her. No one. And she's the top of the ticket. So it's infuriating on so many levels. And it's incumbent upon the campaign, the PAC, us, whoever's out there talking on behalf of conservative ideals, values, Trump, etc., that we absolutely identify and we define who Kamala Harris is before she has a chance to rewrite it and fake it and lie about it. And that window's closing, but it's there because the money needs to be spent to say, I don't like giving her flip-flop. I don't like giving her changing positions, although I can laugh at the fact she was this way just 2 weeks ago. But she is for all of these radical things. When she was running for president, she was ranked the most radical, most left senator to the left of an avowed socialist. Right. Bernie Sanders, a person who's a fake Indian, who said she was a Native American and wasn't. Mm-hmm. She was still further left than them and ranked 8th amongst black voters because when she gets out there and talks, it is so obviously scripted and a character and fake and lies. They don't like her. No. So the Democrats are doing such a good job right now, as you just alluded to, and I'll kind of ask you this question. Any Democrat staff, any staffer on that campaign, if she goes out and does an interview, I don't care if she knocks it out of the park. If she does an interview that isn't scripted, I'd fire him immediately. I wouldn't even think about it because when she gets off prompter, where Joe just kind of meanders and can't complete sentences, she just goes into weird territory where she can't even articulate a sentence. It's the word salad. It's the vomit that she spews. They have done a great job keeping her in that little bubble for as you said, the 11 days or whatever it's been, not talking to a reporter. She had one question and botched it and walked off real fast. She can't do the job. And they know that she can't do the job. And internally they know it. And I'm telling you, between now and Election Day, because the staffers for Biden hate the staffers for Harris, and the staffers for Harris hate the staffers for Biden, and they all hate Obama, and Obama hates all of them, their staffers collectively, there's going to be some stories that come out that this isn't good behind the scenes. And I'm waiting for that to roil over. I'm just hoping some of those things come out between now and November because we only have 90 days, right?
Yeah.
That condensed time frame worries me for a lot of reasons. Sorry.
You're right. And you began that little segment of what you were saying there by saying that Democrats don't care what voters think.
Right.
And you're right. You're right. When you frame it that way, it's absolutely right. It's a parallel to exactly what they did when most of them, at least the ones who cover the White House in person, the ones who were present at the White House every single day, most of them knew all about Joe Biden's mental decline and the fact that he was not. And they knew also that the Biden campaign was trying to conceal that from everybody, conceal his cognitive decline. And the media was okay with that and participated in that. And so absolutely the Democrats' goal when Biden was the nominee was to deprive voters of certain information that they might want to have. Like, can the guy do the job mentally? Is he mentally up for doing the job? The media and the Democrats were perfectly happy. In fact, it was their goal to keep that information from the American public. Now that Harris is the candidate, there is still some stuff that they need to keep from the American public. And It is, in fact, her crazy leftist record. If you go back to the 2019 and 2020 campaign when Harris was running for president the first time, she was already out there on the left with all these crazy positions. And it was people like Joe Biden who were racing to the left to catch up to where she was, because that was a crazy sprint to the left in the radical Democratic nominees.
That's a great point.
Matter. Yes, when everybody was moving left, they were moving left to catch up to Kamala Harris.
Great point.
Because she was, even, as you just said, even to the left of Bernie Sanders. And in her record as a U.S. Senator in 2019, she was ranked the most liberal United States Senator in the U.S. Senate. That's one of the things that is at issue now. The rating, I forget which one, rated her as the most liberal senator, but that webpage is gone. You can't go find that now on their website.
Right.
They're erasing that, just like they're erasing all these crazy positions have. Heck, they're even editing out lines from her resume. Basically, we all remember in March of 2021, which is now well over 3 years ago, when Joe Biden held a press conference and Kamala Harris was there at the press conference, and Joe Biden announced that his vice president, Kamala Harris, was going to be the point person for the administration on tackling, this is when they finally began to admit anyway, that there was a problem at the southern border. He put Kamala Harris in charge of it and said, she is running point on this. Yeah. And every media outlet on the planet started calling her a border czar, or the border czar, the Joe Biden's border czar, the Biden administration border czar, over and over and over and over and over again. And then our friends at Axios wrote a story the other day that said, and then that was followed up with a tweet posting the story on X that said, this was the tweet: the Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had. Well, first of all, it wasn't just Republicans and the Trump campaign calling her the border czar. It was every news outlet on the planet,
news outlet in the world,
including Axios. And not only did Axios also refer to her as the border czar, but this very same reporter who wrote that story that they were tweeting about, saying, she was never called that, the same reporter wrote the story that called her a border czar in the first place. So it's insanity. Of course, she did not have the title border czar. There is no such title in American government. Although, as everyone knows, yes, people who are given leadership responsibilities in certain issue areas are colloquially referred to as czars all the time.
John Kerry's the climate czar.
Right
now. Like, everyone knows that. Okay. It's so disingenuous and so fake for the media. Again, you wonder why they're so unpopular. It's so egregious to watch this. And you said at the outset that they found their candidate. She's not their candidate. They didn't like her. They didn't like her either.
No, but the relief is, I have a theory about this.
Yes, but their candidate is whoever Donald Trump isn't. Their candidate is whoever the left puts up that they know they can manipulate and use and prop up, etc. She is obviously the one they think they can do that with. So
she's the one that they've got now. And
they have to.
She is not.
She's not Joe Biden. She's not old. She's not white. Yeah. She's not a man. So there you go.
Oh yeah,
right?
and all those attributes are
all those things are horrible.
Yeah,
of course, we know that.
They would
but
must love that.
But it just, I just, my head's going to explode just thinking about all the ways that they are trying to recreate a human being who is clearly on the record supporting so many radical policies that she was laughed out of the Democrat primary, never received a single vote. So she didn't even, it wasn't even that she didn't get a vote this time, which she didn't get a vote last time either. Like,
yeah, she got just as many primary votes in 2020 as she did in 2024. But somehow this time she's the nominee. She has a grand total of 0 career presidential primary votes, but somehow she is the 100%. Unbelievable. So here, this is my theory about what contributes to just the overwhelmingly, I mean, there's a journogasm happening nationally right now. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Journogasm. That's great too.
Yeah,
you're coining so many good phrases.
I'm on fire here. But so quite clear, and my column for the Washington Times, which I submitted just this morning, and it'll be up on the website soon, sometime this afternoon, is about this, about how the media found love now, and they don't care who knows it. In fact, that they're telling everybody that they possibly can. And here's I think why, because quite clearly, many White House reporters were guilty of looking the other way when Joe, of course, was showing his cognitive decline. Sure. Others actively participated in the lie that he was mentally competent. They helped project the White House's line that everything is fine here. He's awesome. The worst ones were the ones who reported as though it were true on its face, that ridiculous claim from the White House that it was cheap fake videos made by Republicans that were the only reason that anybody that they were artificially making Joe Biden seem to be feeble when in fact he was running circles around the White House staff. So many reporters put that on the air and wrote it in the newspaper like it was true. And so when the debate happened with Trump near the end of June and Joe Biden performed a face plant for the ages, the whole charade was exposed and the media was caught with its impartiality down, right? And so they were exposed. And Biden had broken the agreement, whether it was a spoken agreement or unspoken agreement. And the agreement was that the issue of his infirmity would be something that the media would help him hide. But Biden had to hold up his end of the deal and not embarrass the media while they were doing that. And that debate exposed the whole thing, and it was all over. And so the media was pretty pissed. And so they turned on him just like that because they knew, all right, this guy's been exposed, made us look bad. He's got to go. He can't possibly win. Now in comes Harris. And now the media is like, all right, now we got something going here. And they're off to the races. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my view.
I agree. It is. They couldn't cover for him anymore. And they got exposed.
He had betrayed them. He betrayed them.
He betrayed them. They kept up their end of the deal. He didn't. No. So we are here. We are where we are now. And this is the race. And this is what we have to fight going forward. Someone who is radical, who's going to shift and move. As you said, there's other thing I did want to disagree with. You said she was kind of like Joe Biden in the sense that she's kind of an empty vessel. A puppet to a degree. The difference is because what you said also struck me as correct. When everyone was moving left, it's because they were trying to catch her. Right. That's who she is. Okay? Right.
That's what I'm saying.
This thing now it's not empty. That's
no. She's pretending. She's lying.
This is a pretending thing, and that's what I talked about when she called Joe Biden a racist. Whatever. She'll do whatever it takes to get elected. Most politicians do or say whatever it takes to get elected. But this is monumentally insane what she is now trying to claim versus what she was. Now it's to get elected, but who she is the radical. I don't want to give her the ability to go away from it and go, she flip-flopped, because now she says she's against fracking or isn't against fracking, but she was before. Wow, you can't trust her. No, she doesn't want to frack, period.
Right.
And the more we say that, the more she's going to have to come out and answer for it. If we let her flip-flop, what the hell is she got? Why does she need to come out? She doesn't.
I know. And see, this is what I'm afraid of. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but pretty soon when the issues keep coming up, like the next time that somebody writes a story about fracking, Politico already did it and they changed the headline. but they had the original headline was something like Harris is opposed to fracking, or Harris campaign says she won't ban fracking despite Trump campaign accusation. It's not a Trump campaign accusation. She said it many times. Many times. And so we haven't gotten to this point yet, but the next time let's take fracking, for example, the next time fracking is an issue, is the media going to report it? Well, Kamala Harris, who opposes a ban on fracking, and just pass it off as though it's fact, as though she didn't just invent that position 15 minutes earlier after many years of supporting a ban on fracking. You know what I mean? So is the media going to play it like the flip-flop didn't happen, or the lie hasn't happened? Are they just going to assign to her and let her get away with the position of not supporting a ban on fracking? Are they going to just say that Harris does not support a ban on fracking, period, and just leave it at that? Or are they going to tell the backstory? What's your prediction on that? I think they will be tempted not to tell the backstory and give her a pass. No. Just let her have her new position and never even describe that she had a previous one.
And what they'll say, no, remember the cadence is rote at this point. It will be our fault because we're just accusing her of it. We don't even prove
right. It will be just
the fact she said it, or that she voted that way, or that she wrote the bill that allowed you to steal up to $900 in California without being in trouble for it. Forget the fact that as a tough on crime prosecutor, by the way, if you're so tough on crime, why don't you start with the 10 million people who broke the law coming into this country? You could do that right now, but no, whatever. I'm so tough on crime that I wanted to characterize in California law as nonviolent raping an unconscious person, trying to blow up a bomb in a school or a hospital. Gosh, what else did she do over there? Oh, molesting a child, whatever. Let's a drive-by shooting. Yeah, let's make those nonviolent crimes. That makes sense. This is someone who is such a joke. So when she leads with that little cute line about I'm a prosecutor, so I know Donald Trump's stuff, you're not a prosecutor. You aren't. You let people out of prison who went on to murder and rape more people countless times. You allowed 10 million that we know about to violate American law. And instead of saying we need to get them out, your response is, let's just change the law so it's not illegal. And basically retroactively allow the 10 million to come in. Like the 4 million, the 2 million that have come in as gotaways that we know about too.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's just keep that. Like, it's so egregious. I get so mad thinking about it. But as I said, now we're here. It's time to have the fight. It's our job to explain this to the American people as succinctly, as sharply, and as strongly as we can between now and Election Day, and let them see just who this person is. And if we expose the media along the way, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, I know we got other topics, but
yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing more important than this. I want to play a clip here from Trump's appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists from Wednesday of this week. And I would point out, I think in this clip, he also points this out, but these are not reporters who are predisposed to be friendly to Donald Trump, the National Association of Black Journalists. And no, he's going into obviously unfriendly territory. He's going to sit up on stage, and one of the interviewers is Rachel Scott, whom I know, and I like Rachel. I think she's very friendly. But boy, the way she attacked him right off the bat here, I think she was aware of all the eyes on her in that room, and she decided that she needed to do, establish her street cred from the left of the point of view of the journalists in the room, rather than actually acting as a nonpartisan, impartial journalist. And so I know you're familiar with this, but maybe some of the viewers are not. I'm going to play at least part of this. Here's the very, very, very adversarial question and Trump's response.
It's not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
I mean, I just love it. That was a fantastic response. And then she's arguing with him. That's clearly taking sides.
Also, just for the record, do you know how many reporters he has called loser, fake, worthless, disrespectful, disgraceful,
I don't know how many.
All races and genders?
Right.
So trying to pretend as though he singles out black journalists with that terminology is ridiculous.
Yeah, Jim Acosta has entered the chat, right?
That's exactly right. George Stephanopoulos has entered the chat. He calls them all names. Like, that's what he does, because he doesn't put up with crap like that. Okay. And journalists from whatever, religion, color, race, creed, whatever, they have a job to do in a lot of ways that the American people used to respect and they used to admire, and now they don't. And in large measure, it's because of questions like that across the spectrum from all types of journalists who ask them all the time of only one side. They do not ask them any questions like that on the other side. And when you're talking about Joe Biden and his extremely checkered past on race, his own son, Hunter Biden, wrote many text messages with the N-word in it.
Yeah.
There was a sniff that Donald Trump used it on the set of The Apprentice, and they said they had all these tapes, and it was national news for like 2 weeks. No one ever found them because he didn't use the word.
Where's the tape?
Hunter Biden literally texted it multiple times,
and we have many screenshots
about it.
Many screenshots of it. Yes.
If it was Don Jr., they said, "Well, where does he learn such language?" Obviously, from his father, right?
Right.
Where did Hunter Biden learn that? They didn't report on it. It's so infuriating. Again, I just get my hands here every time. Like, it's the same thing I do, because it's like the line from Will Ferrell's line from Zoolander. I'm like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, am I the only one who notices this?
Right.
It's the same look.
You can boil down that question, Rachel's question, to him basically this way. You can say that her question to him was, we have ample evidence that you are, in fact, the devil. How is it that you're going to attempt to ask black people to vote for you when you are, in fact, the devil? Please discuss. So I mean, basically, that was her question, and he's like, "Whoa, wait a second. Why? I'm here. My opponent is not here. Y'all were 35 minutes late, and this is how you start." I mean, like, and so you just know that question, the tone of the interview, it had nothing to do with getting to the story or being a tough interviewer or anything. It was all about posturing and preening for her fellow journalists in the room. That's all that was. She needed to fit in. And let me tell you, it is that's herd mentality. That's pack journalism. And that is just a subset.
Lemming mentality.
Yes. That is just another subset of the journalistic pack. National Association of Black Journalists is, a subset of the larger journalistic community. And it's the exact same pressure, peer pressure that journalists were under that caused them in 2020 to en masse ignore Hunter Biden's laptop because no one was going to be the one to step out of line, and everyone wanted to prove that they were right in line with everybody and they were on the team and they were members of the team in good standing. And that's exactly what Rachel Scott was doing right there.
And let me just make this point, because I used to come to DC all the time under various administrations. I know these journalists. I've known them for decades. You do too.
Mm-hmm.
I still go around to different groups and I'll see different journalists out, and say hello or whatever. But I think this is kind of interesting. I go into rooms all the time where I see a specific journalist who reported something, maybe got an award for it, maybe didn't, but it was completely wrong, completely fake.
Right.
It got proven to be wrong. And all the other journalists in the room ran with it based on what that journalist said. So they were all proven wrong because of that one person. I see it every party I go to.
Oh, yeah.
Every
I know the dynamic, how that works. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I see countless times where that person who first wrote the wrong story gets the slap on the back, the handshake, the hug, the pat on the butt. And somehow I'm the a-hole in the bar. I'm the a-hole at the restaurant. Like,
right.
Because I work for the guy who was right the whole time. Like,
you know why it is? Because
you should be coming up to me like, hey, thanks, man. I'm sorry we screwed you on that one. We were wrong, right?
You know why it is unbelievable, and here's exactly why it is because they're like, "Hey, man, what a great story you filed that everybody else followed, man. That was really awesome." No, this is what the peers will do, and the people backslapping and all that. That was really great, and then somebody will say, it turned out not to be true, of course. Yeah, but you know what? We all wanted it to be true, so that's right, man. Yeah, and we assumed it was true, and so what if it wasn't? It was still great work.
Yeah,
I mean, it had the intended effect, right? Yeah, that's what we all wanted. It didn't matter if it was true or not. We're just looking for the effect.
What do you do?
I don't know.
They are who they are.
Every once in a while, I ask myself, why in the world? Because I get so, and you do too. We get so worked up over the way the media is and the unfairness of it, and the two-faced nature of a lot of what goes on here. And we get so fired up about it. And then I wonder, how is it that I chose a line of work that leads me to have to deal with this all the time? And it makes me so crazy all the time. I honestly got, I remember standing out back of one of a campaign office for a campaign that I worked at years ago. Oh, it was the 2005 governor's race in Virginia. That's how long I've been doing this. And I was standing out back when I used to smoke and drink. And I was smoking with one of my a guy from the campaign, one of my deputy actually on the campaign. I was standing out back smoking with him, and we were watching a guy cut the grass in the office park where the campaign office was. Yeah. And I had just gotten off the phone with somebody from the Washington Post, and we'd had an argument about the campaign. And I knew that there was a bad story in the Washington Post coming in the following morning. It was going to be bad for our campaign. So I'm standing there with smoking after this, watching the guy cut the grass. And I remember I turned to my buddy and I said, "You think that guy goes home after work and worries what the Washington Post is going to say about his job the next day? I bet he doesn't. He probably goes home and doesn't think about it again until the next morning."
Nope. Of course not.
And I think, why do I do this? That was 19 years ago, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and just personally, there are a lot of times when I just go, I'm just too tired for this fight anymore. Like I'm exhausted. I'm spent. This is too much. And then I'm standing about in a green room, about to go on set. Just like, how am I ever going to have an energy to do this interview? And I look up on screen, I see someone like Kamala Harris so obviously contrived, so obviously full of it, so obviously lying. And I get so fired up that by the time I sit down in that seat, I am ready to go. It makes me so mad. But like you said, I don't know that you can live on this adrenaline for your whole life. It's probably bad, I think, to some degree.
Probably bad.
Probably not good for your body somehow, some way. And being in the White House and having those things happen all the time. And on top of that, talking to the president at 3 a.m. and then again at 5 a.m. and it, a rocket's fired off in Tehran at 2 a.m. and it's just it's so much, right? And what kind of fascinates me, it just seems like our side gets geared up election years only, and we're still tired. The left does this this is their religion. They do it year round. They never stop doing it. And so no wonder we're behind on so many mechanics as it relates to people on the ground in these states for elections, because we don't do it all of the time. They do it all of the time and somehow seemingly don't get tired, which also blows my mind.
I know. Well, that's a good way to bring this whole thing into land this plane for this week, because there can be, if you are, I don't know how many Democrats watch this program, but if there are any, y'all can take the next 90 some days off. To the Republic. Yeah, it is true. For the Republicans who watch, Trump supporters who watch, this is going to be a fight. If Joe Biden had remained the candidate, maybe it would have been a little easier, but the media is going to be pulling out all the stops, all the Democrat establishment, the regular establishment that don't have to be Democrats. The Washington types there, all of them are going to be working to unseat Donald Trump and knock him off and get Kamala Harris installed into the White House. It is going to be a close race. This ain't going to be no cakewalk. She is a terrible candidate. She has terrible positions that she cannot possibly defend. But the media and she are in the process of trying to make those things go away like they never existed, so that she has a smooth sail on not facing any tough questions about her positions. That's what's happening. Yep. This is going to be a close race. The media reported it as razor thin when Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And in fact, it was a pretty damn close election. About 80,000 votes made the difference in 2016, spread across 3 different states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. About 80,000 votes out of all those tens of millions cast made the difference. It was a very narrow election. It was described that way by the media. In 2020, in an election that was described as a very comfortable Joe Biden win, very nearly a blowout, it was actually, in reality, twice as close as 2016. It was only about 44,000 votes spread across a combination of 3 other states, Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin. So in 2020, 44,000 votes, 2016, about 80,000 votes. It's going to be close again. Pick another handful of some combination of states. It's going to be tens of thousands of votes making the difference out of tens of millions that have been cast. So ain't no time to take any days off. No way.
And understand the media. As I was looking at some polling yesterday, Nate Silver, who, for those who don't know, is a big muckety muck in polling. He is predicting Kamala wins a vast majority of the popular vote, but says Trump still has a 60-40 lead in electoral college. And thankfully, that's the way we elect presidents in this country. You have to put in the work, though, to get that done. Okay. That's right. These things don't just happen. The ground game matters. Being a poll watcher and a poll worker, voter mobilization, voter registration, ballot chase, ballot harvest, whatever you can do legally, they do it. And I saw a stat, I guess it was yesterday, early voting in Arizona outpaced Republican early voting, mail-in ballots outpaced Democrats by a very large margin. So they're getting the memo.
Hallelujah.
Election day is not the start of the election; it's the end of the election.
No,
Democrats have been voting for 50 days, so they've banked hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of votes by then in these states. So there's my little public service announcement. But
sure, we no longer have
just whatever.
We no longer have an election day; we have an election season.
Yeah, it's election month, election year.
I hate it, but those are the rules of the game. And they are going to exploit the rules, and by God, our side has to exploit them too, within whatever the law is, in whatever the state is. Anyhow, good discussion. Covered a lot of ground. I suspect by the next time we do one of these shows, we will know who Kamala Harris's running mate is.
Probably.
Any predictions for that, and then we'll get out of here.
It's in my opinion, it's Shapiro or Kelly. I think it's going to be Shapiro. I'd like for it to probably be Kelly, but I don't know.
I think it's either Kelly, Shapiro, or Walz in my view.
She's not picking that guy from Minnesota. That doesn't give her anything. If she takes Shapiro, it's going to piss off the Hamas wing because he's Jewish of the Democrat Party.
Right.
If she doesn't take him, the obvious slap is you didn't take him because of the Hamas wing in your party.
Right.
So she's kind of in a weird spot.
But then Kelly is bad.
Kelly,
unions don't like Kelly.
Some of that.
Yeah, but unions don't like him, and unions are a huge part of the Democratic base.
Unions come in line. I mean, the auto workers union just endorsed somebody who said she wants to get rid of internal combustion engine cars in like 3 years.
Fair. Yeah, I think that.
Hell, Biden said he was against fracking in Pennsylvania in 2020, and they still voted for him.
Yeah, I know. I just think I lean more towards Kelly. I think Shapiro makes more sense straight up politically, but she does have the Hamas voters to worry about. And so I think that how much is that? A third of the Democratic Party is pro-Hamas. Is it more than that? I don't know. But you can't have it, and they're anti-Semites. She can't have a Jewish running mate. There's no question. Yeah. So I think it kind of points to Mark Kelly.
I think as an older, steadier, right? Like he's kind of at the end of his career anyway, whereas Shapiro wants to run, I think, in 28. Yeah. So like, why would you jeopardize that? I don't know. And
it's the border state stuff. She has a problem with the border. Mark Kelly is a little bit a minor a band. They think that he's a Band-Aid for that. I don't believe that it is.
Maybe.
But anyhow, we shall see the next time we talk. I suspect that we will know. For Hogan Gidley, Sonny Joy Nelson could not be with us again this week. I'm Tim Murtaugh, and this has been the Line Drive Podcast.